Before introducing my next guest, I wanted to give a drum roll to our newest subscriber, Susie Simonson. Thank you so much for being a regular subscriber. Well, should we say tuning in regularly and being a subscriber. And I hope you enjoy my morning look. See you soon. We're doing something totally experimental. We're talking about cornstarch.
Cornstarch, everybody's favorite topic, yes.
With my dear friend Caroline, and I have no experience with cornstarch other than knowing that it I don't know if I say belongs in the kitchen or just that I've used it in the kitchen.
Used it in the kitchen, I bet, yeah.
So why are you so fascinated by it? What happened with you?
Well, I have to be fascinated by it because I'm actually cornstarch intolerant. So it is like lactose intolerance for some people, except it's with cornstarch.
So like what you eat? What, a teaspoon of it?
Or I'd probably be in the hospital.
Wow.
Yeah, no, so cornstarch is not something that you would normally just eat. It's
true.
Part of things. Although it's part of powdered sugar, it's part of broths. It's used as a thickener. It's sometimes used as a sweetener in a weird roundabout way because dextrose is made from cornstarch.
I didn't know that. Okay.
And so dextrose is sometimes used to sweeten things. They use dextrose and maltodextrin are both from cornstarch in this country, and it can be made from other things. But in the United States where we live, it's mostly going to be made from corn. And this specifies like from potatoes or from tapioca or from rice.
So let's say you had some sour cream or, I don't know, audience, pick something right below what your experience is with cornstarch. But in your case, so let's say you have, when was the last thing you can remember having with cornstarch and what happened?
Gosh, well, I would never eat it on purpose, but sometimes things sneak in because it's not always labeled. So, for example, if you buy frozen pizza or something with shredded cheese on it, a lot of times they will use cornstarch on the outside of big blocks of cheese to keep it from sticking to the plastic packaging, but they don't put it on the label. So if you eat shredded cheese, or like even if you just buy a bag of shredded cheese, sometimes they'll put stuff in there to keep it from clumping together, and a lot of times that can have cornstarch in it. So
I thought it was potato starch, but it's also cornstarch.
Sometimes, yeah, but usually, I mean, cornstarch is usually cheaper, so yeah.
So then what happens to you?
So it's just like with people with lactose intolerance. I'll get sick. I might get bloated. I might get gassy. I might, have diarrhea or something.
Awful.
Super fun.
Oh my
like
God.
That. So yeah, and it's very similar to anyone with lactose intolerance. So an allergy is usually your whole body, and you might get hives, or your throat might close up, or it's going to be a really systemic effect on your whole body. But with an intolerance, it's usually gastrointestinal.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Yeah, we are both extremely interested in food-based or food ingredients, and I think it's safe to say we are anti-lists of ingredients. It's like the fewer the better.
Right.
What you got written down there?
So cornstarch, it can be called a lot of different things, and I mentioned already maltodextrin, that cornstarch is made, or maltodextrin, is made from cornstarch in a lot of cases. Dextrose, food starch, modified food starch, glucose syrup, invert sugar, natural flavors, which is a real sneaky one. Sometimes they will say, no sugar added to something, but they stick dextrose in there for a sweetener made from cornstarch. And so you're not expecting it, but yep, it's in there. So like I had, for a while, there was a V8 drink that was like fruit and vegetable. And I thought, oh, this is a neat way to get a little extra fruits and vegetables. And I mixed it with sparkling water, and it was kind of like a soda substitute. And I kept getting really sick. And I'm like, what in the world is going on? Well, I looked at the V8 can at the label, and it said natural flavors. And I'm almost positive. I mean, I can't pinpoint it exactly, but that was the only thing that I had that was different, and that was the only thing I could think of. And so sometimes natural flavors can hide a multitude of sins.
I've always wondered about that. I'm going to know. So you don't pretty much get anything store-bought unless you just scrutinize the heck out of the ingredients.
Yeah, I really have to scrutinize it. And even when you think you're being safe, like I said, sometimes it can be hidden if it's on the outside of cheese, or when I get a block of cheese, I cut all the sides off of it and throw them away so that I don't accidentally get some cornstarch.
Wow.
It can be in broth. So like there was one time I got something from Trader Joe's, and Trader Joe's has better quality
Yeah.
food than a lot of places. But I got something for Trader Joe's and I kept feeling sick after I ate it. And I'm like, what in the world? I checked the list. I checked to see if there were any cornstarchy things in there. And I realized there was chicken broth in it. And chicken broth. And it just said chicken broth and it didn't list all the ingredients. But a lot of times chicken broth will have some form of cornstarch in it. And so even like if you buy chicken and it says, solution added, a lot of times that can have like dextrose or maltodextrin in it. Ham, cold cuts, any kind of deli meats, bacon. Like I have to buy bacon. I know. I can't get bacon when I go out to restaurants for the most part because almost all bacon is problematic for me. So I have to buy special bacon. I have to make sure that I read the labels. Even then, they can sneak it in. But for the most part, if you know what to look for, you can avoid it. But it's tricky. And it's really tricky to go out to eat.
I would imagine.
Yeah, I'm super boring. I go, if I find something that works, I order the same thing every time I go to whatever restaurant.
That makes sense.
But you have to be careful with bread because a lot of bread products have dextrose in them. So like even getting a hamburger bun, you could accidentally get cornstarch. And I'm so grateful that I'm not allergic to corn altogether because
no kidding.
There's some people out there that can't have any corn and it's almost impossible to live. You have to know a farmer, essentially.
Yeah. Oh.
Because it's in everything in this country. It's really difficult.
I don't even remember the last time I had corn. So what substitutes would you use if you needed a thickener or...
So you can use tapioca starch or potato starch. You can use rice flour sometimes. Sometimes flour, just regular flour. And one thing that's really tough is that a lot of the gluten-free products will have corn in there instead. So I really feel bad for the people that can't have corn or gluten because a lot of times you will find a lot of in like the soy products or, what have you, you'll have a lot of cornstarch in the gluten-free. So it's tricky. It's my poor mom. She's like, oh, I've had to completely learn a new way to cook because she has to check the labels for everything. And she does a really good job, but even friends that I have that will try to cook for me, they're so sweet. And it's really nice but there's always something that's kind of tricky that you don't expect to be there. And it's really hard for people to
It is.
For me. So
I actually even tried thickening let's see here, it was an almond flour chocolate chip cookie recipe that was a little bit on the soupy end. Don't ask me why. But I had a little bag of arrowroot powder, which looks kind of like sugar, just not as granular.
Yep.
That actually worked pretty well, but I probably would have had to have like 2 tablespoons worth instead of just the little bit I did. But that's the only thing I can think of.
Yep. Arrowroot can work well. If you're using it in sauces, it's a little bit tricky because like with cornstarch, you can add it in and you can cook with it for days. I mean, it's not going to do anything. But with arrowroot and some of the other substitutes, they can break. So you have to add it in really close to the end, and you can't let it be, on the heat and strain for a long time because it's all that sciencey stuff. I don't know exactly what it is, but yeah. But arrowroot, tapioca, rice, potato, there are different things. But it's, the tricky thing with anyone that has a food issue is it's harder to find, and it's oftentimes more expensive than going the traditional route.
So knowing that Mother's Day is coming up, what could your husband possibly prepare for you food-wise, if anything, that wouldn't have cornstarch and that would make you feel like $1 million?
I think we're probably going to go and grill over at my parents' house. And we'll have, I think we're going to have pork chops we bought from, and there again, you have to be kind of careful. You have to buy like the natural pork chops that don't have any of the solution added. And so we get our pork chops from Trader Joe's. And they work pretty well. And we'll probably put a dry rub on them that I make because spice blends oftentimes have cornstarch in there to keep them from being clumpy.
Wow.
So, I don't buy any spice blends pretty much. And they might not even have cornstarch on the label. So I usually make my own.
What's your go-to, if you can just, not quantities, but which spices would you choose?
So we do a dry rub that actually I learned about on Food Network. Anne Burrell does this great dry rub she uses it for ribeye steaks, but I've found that it works really well on pork products as well. So it's brown sugar, salt, smoked paprika, garlic powder, of course. Always have to have garlic, and crushed red pepper. And she says to use a coffee grinder to grind the crushed red pepper, but I don't do that because I don't have.
Ours fell
I just
apart.
put it there.
Ours fell apart. In fact, I think I twisted the bottom of it too much, and it went everywhere. So we're on the hunt. If you happen to know of a really good pepper grinder, put it below. If you're an affiliate of a pepper grinder company, put it below. You never know. I mean, equal opportunity, right? And it's do you know of a good hack for if you need a tenderizer and you don't have one? Let me think. Let's see what she says.
So, are you talking about like a thing to hit something with? Like, you could use a big water bottle, like a glass water bottle, or a hammer. What do you use?
A rolling pin.
Oh,
I put some plastic or something on top of the meat, and I go boom, 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 boom.
Yeah. Anything like that works.
It worked. Cool. Do I really want to spend money on a tenderizer if I got the rolling pin?
Yeah.
No.
You're good. If you have something that works, use it.
Now, if you have any questions about how to budget better, what else would you love helping somebody with? Even just having a conversation with,
yes, well, so I have ADHD and I go through my hyperfixations. Most people with ADHD that have hyperfixations are like, oh, I'm going to scrapbook, and they buy every possible scrapbooking thing, or I'm going to learn how to, play guitar or whatever, and they buy all that stuff. I am more of a hyperfixation with learning about things person. So my most recent hyperfixations have been personal finance, of course, and intermittent fasting.
Oh yeah.
Cornstarch, of course, is always part of it. What else? Oh, I've been learning about skincare, a lot of skincare stuff, dermatology and things like that. I follow dermatologists and medical estheticians and just skincare geeks online. And
oh my god,
so
flawless skin. Oh my gosh, and how to be an amazing mom to a very artistic gal.
No, thank you.
Oh yeah, it's incredible.
She is very artistic.
Oh. So you heard it here. We'll go by just Caroline for now. And let's see here. Well, click below, put comments about what you liked, hated, whatever it was. Keep it clean.
Don't put about what you hated.
About my part. Sorry. X that out. Anyway. Yeah. Thanks for tuning in. See you soon.
Have a cornstarch free day.
Yeah, we appreciate ya.
Bye.
This is an addendum.
Oh, okay. So,
yes.
So one thing I was just saying to Lily is that I suspect, I don't have any proof for this, but I do suspect that a lot of people that think they're lactose intolerant are actually cornstarch intolerant, because there's a lot of cornstarch type things in dairy products. So sour cream, yogurt, heavy whipping cream. Oh, Gelen gum is another one to look for. Gelen gum is a cornstarch derivative. It's really hard to find dairy products except plain milk. Plain milk is pretty safe, but other than that, the cheese that has the stuff on the outside, most dairy products have some form of cornstarch, unless you look really hard to make sure that there isn't any cornstarch in your dairy products. So if you have been suspecting that you're lactose intolerant, but you can sometimes have stuff with lactose or with dairy in it and you're okay, maybe it's actually the cornstarch.
Ooh. And my guess might be that it's got to do with the lectins in the corn, which I read about in Dr. Gundry's book, but I don't know if I'm right. Otherwise, potentially try A2 milk, because it doesn't have that protein that has the inflammation in it. And now someone's coming home, so nice chatting with you. Bye.